People who were dating someone that went from, I think I want to marry this person too, I think I need a restraining order. What happened? She punched me in the face while I was sleeping. Apparently my phone had woken her when I received a text in the middle of the night from a girl asking if there was any chance I could come pick her up. She assumed I was cheating and figured that the most efficient way of addressing her concerns was to just punch me in the face, hard, while I lay there sleeping. The text was from a non-Alabamian cousin who had some sort of semi-emergency and needed to get picked up from a party. Started dating in high school, had some ups and downs, but at the time I just chalked it up to us being immature. My last 2 years of college really proved he just had serious issues. When I moved out of state for good, it's like a switch flipped and he got extremely possessive and controlling. Wanted all my friends' numbers, gave me a schedule of when we need to be in communication, and if I missed any he was blowing my phone up threatening to kill himself. Finally got the restraining order when he showed up to my friend's apartment looking for me, threatening to call the police because I still had a pair of his shoes, that I didn't even have. When my live-in boyfriend of a few years blew our month's rent on weed without telling me when he was out of work and my paycheck was barely enough to cover the rent and food. When I told him he couldn't do that he went nuts and started rage screaming and smashed his car up with an axe because, I need my weed, you fucking bitch. When he calmed down and disappeared with his friend to go clear his head, I was browsing the web on my laptop for rehab places, clicked on some random history item and saw he had uploaded porn onto the web, of me asleep, or in the shower, without my knowledge or consent. When I confronted him by text he said he could because I was his. We broke up on the spot. It was a wild 24 hours. I was young, dumb, and thought I was in love and ignored many red flags. As he got more comfortable around me he let his crazy out. Someone stole his cell phone and he asked me to purchase a shotgun for him so he could go shoot the person who did it. It took me another year and a half to leave. I did try breaking up with him, but he told me that if I ever tried to break up with him again he'd kill everyone I love and then himself so I'd know what it was like to be alone. That relationship ended in an order of protection against domestic violence. He was nuts. She was unreasonably hot. I feel I'm good looking, but she was just stupid beautiful. She found out my ex's name somehow, without my knowledge, found her Facebook and started sending her threatening messages. I have no idea why. She then deleted every female number from my phone. All my relatives except my mother and aunts that were listed as such. Her hotness made me continue with her for another 3 weeks after this. She said that she has issues but being pretty means that most guys put up with it, and I need to just deal with it. Ending it with her felt more like trying to explain complex mathematics to a donkey. She wouldn't accept it for ages. I respected her self-awareness about how psycho she was though. To be honest, she made it clear what I was signing up for. I just didn't want to listen. I found out he was soliciting underage girls. Like a record scratch, it was over. Edit, whoa, thank you all. Yes, he was arrested and went to jail. I'm so sorry, and I know your pain. I wouldn't wish this on anyone. My fiancé was arrested for CP. It was over when I finally learned why Homeland Security and the county police department had raided my house, about 3 hours after they burst through my door. I had to take our 4-year-old daughter for a grape evaluation. Thankfully she wasn't abused. His ex-girlfriend bailed him out of jail. I worked with agents to record him confessing everything to me. I will never forget that shit I had to hear in response to some messed up questions they had me ask. I learned he talked about our daughter online to other perverts, and tried to buy a very young girl's virginity from her mother. He went to prison last month for 25 years on a plea bargain. I was dating a guy. I really liked him. He was smart, funny, and adventurous. We were getting pretty serious. He pretty much lived at my house. One weekend I went home for my dad's birthday. All of my brothers were home. I have 5 of them. We ate, drank, and were merry. One of my sister-in-laws took some pictures and posted them on Facebook with me tagged in them. Got back to my house Sunday evening and my boyfriend was coming over shorty to hang out or spend the night. When he got there he was basically frothing at the mouth. He shoved me and called me a whore. Started pushing me around ranting about how he had to see me whoring myself all over the internet and hanging on a bunch of guys. I told him they were my brothers, but at that point I was done with him. I told him to get the fuck out of my house. He took that as an invitation to throw me up against a wall and try to force me to kiss him. My roomie heard the commotion and came out of her room with a bat. Then shithead made the only good decision he made that day and decided to leave. Kicked in a pantry door and wrecked some drywall on his way out though. I threw all his stuff in a dumpster. He ended up stalking me for years. Showing up drunk at places I'd moved to after we dated, calling after I'd changed my number, even texted me on the week of my wedding to ask me to reconsider marrying him instead. Yeah, you crazy fuck, I want to dump the love of my life for a crazy stalker. Jesus Christ, hope that man leaves you alone. Haven't heard from him since I got married, so fingers crossed that's the last I'll ever hear from him. I really hope some other girl hasn't become the focus of his attention. Hopefully he addressed his shortcomings and issues. We were spending a large amount of time together, with me staying at his house several nights of the week. He went mad one day because he said we weren't spending enough time together. He pulled out a notepad and drew up a schedule, outlining in excruciating detail each hour that I would spend with him throughout the week from then on. I distinctly remember sitting there, saying nothing and feeling like I was in the twilight zone. Things got significantly crazier from then on, but this moment always sticks out in my mind. Edit 1. I've just woken up to lots of messages of support. Thanks so much, I am very happy to have gotten away from this kind of controlling behavior. This was a number of years ago and I have done much healing since then. By the way, on a slightly more amusing but equally crazy note, this guy also once wrote a book about me. A full-scale novel. Edit 2. Lots of people asking about the novel. We had been broken up for a few weeks when he randomly emailed me a PDF. The novel had a picture of me on the front cover. It was a romance story about the entire lives of two people. It was very clear that these characters were supposed to be us, thinly disguised with different names. It was a fictional imagining of what our lives would have been like together, with entire chapters on our wedding and our sex life. Shudder. It was so clear that this was an over-the-top attempt to get me back. The book was clearly written in a great hurry and was full of mistakes. He kept slipping pronouns, totally forgetting that he was writing a third-person novel and addressing me directly by saying things like, "You know I am your destiny," scream something, "No one will ever make you feel the way I do." I highly doubt he tried to get it published. The worst version I have of this was a guy that I had been dating, who rammed my truck with a moving van, repeatedly, at an immigration checkpoint in New Mexico, well after dark. He thought it was funny. He'd been behaving badly, but I just thought it was the stress of the move. The aggravated assault by U-Haul is when I decided to break up with him. He stalked me for years after that, harassing me at work, which led to me getting fired. I switched from law firms to legal software, and that seemed to make it harder to find me. His stalking ended in blowing up a brick and mortar mailbox with plastic explosives. I think he laid low after that, because the FBI was looking for him. He eventually moved back to California, years later. An ex-girlfriend of his contacted me about 7 years later when she was settling his estate. She wanted to make sure there weren't any children. Did he die? He apparently died of a first heart attack at home, sometime in his early 40s. I'll throw my hat into the ring here. Dated a chick years ago, she was essentially everything I thought I wanted in a girl. She was cute, funny, liked just enough things I liked for us to have common interests, but just different enough to show each other new things and experiences. I was heavy into her and she was heavy into. Then things got weird. She started getting jealous of high school friends I'd known way before her and even went as far as telling me I wasn't allowed to hang out with some of my female friends except for the few she thought were uglier than her. Things got worse. She started getting jealous of inanimate objects like my game consoles, and video games, some of which she gave me. It came to a head when my grandmother asked me to watch her dog. She was a tiny hand dog that I adored, and one day I was half asleep and saw her literally kick this tiny dog off my bed, like with her feet. I asked her what the hell her problem was and she told me that she doesn't like that I give the dog more attention than her. Things got even worse. She would physically abuse me when I did things she didn't like, such as bending my fingers, hitting me in the face, etc. Eventually everything I did she didn't like. After a while I got the courage to dump her ass and she tries to tell me she's pregnant to keep me, which is an obvious lie. After that I discovered she'd still stalk my Facebook page, and told some of her friends and mutual friends that I was the abuser. I also learned that when I was away she'd let dudes feel her up and other stuff too. Luckily I've landed a great girl that cares about me and isn't a jealous psycho like she was. We were in a long-distance relationship for over 3 years and eventually it started to fizzle. She'd tell me to move to the States and drop my college degree, my family and my animals to live as an illegal immigrant, and I could just do whatever odd jobs I could find just to be with her. I told her I needed to wait. She'd get very upset every time I went out with friends and would bombard my Facebook wall with random crap and send me private messages with passive-aggressive insults and threats of suicide. I broke it off with her and moved on, but she kept messaging me asking to be friends. I tried, but she'd randomly blow up at me insulting me for ruining her life by making her think she could be loved. I told her she did deserve love and she'd get even more upset. We couldn't talk at all. Last year she messaged me yet again telling me that I had a legal obligation to marry her since I said I would 5 years ago, and therefore she expected me to just fly up there and fulfill my obligation to her. Had to block her. Edit. Sorry, I don't think I explained myself properly. It wasn't an exclusively online relationship. We did see each other. I would travel up there twice a year whenever I had vacations from uni and spend about 2 months with her, which were always great. She'd just get incredibly possessive and insecure when we were apart because my social life started to blossom down here and she was scared I'd meet someone else. Once I stayed for 6 months until the very last day of my visa. Legal obligation to marry her, because you said that 5 years ago. That's nuttier than a squirrel's hoard of nuts. She has many issues, but she's also been handled a really rough hand in life. I'll always care, but damn that one was too much. After being beat down mentally from her, I started suffering from erectile dysfunction at 22 years of age. Eventually I mustered the courage to leave her. She quickly moved on to someone else, who would later become her husband, and called me every week to basically rub it in, saying how much better he was than me, how much bigger he was than me, etc. etc. I moved out of state, changed my number, never heard from her again. She called my parents and even showed up at their home, but they told her to go away. About 10 years later my friend ran into an old friend of hers. Apparently my ex got arrested for beating her own mother. Got out of jail, and beat her husband, then tried to take their kids from him. She was arrested again, and later released. Guess I dodged a huge bullet there. Did you manage to fix your erectile dysfunction though? Asking the important questions here. So when it originally happened, she immediately started blaming me, saying I didn't find her sexy anymore, saying there was something wrong with me, that I was gay, etc. etc. I thought to myself, how the fuck can I be in my 20s and get erectile dysfunction? This is absurd. So I went to the doctor and a couple of specialists. Had a bunch of tests run on me. Everything came back healthy, so my doctor immediately sent me to a psychologist to do talk therapy. Things slowly started getting better from there. To be honest, it didn't get better until I left her. However, the damage was done. The trauma I went with from being in that relationship took its toll on my mental well-being. It took many years. The erectile dysfunction is still there and the mental scarring is still there, but I've learned to finally recognize what was the cause and got to be completely honest with my partner. She understands and is supportive, whether it or not it is fully functional or not. Guess this is how I was supposed to be treated in the first place. I was 15. Dumb as fuck because I'd never really been in a serious relationship before, and had no idea what I was doing. This was my first love, so of course I was convinced I was gonna marry him. He was 18 and a total piece of shit. He told me he loved me, that we were gonna be together forever, and sold me on the idea of a perfect life. I wanted to be grown so bad that I jumped at my chance to feel like an adult. The crazy thing is, there's not a singular event or thing he did to trigger a grandiose get the fuck away from me moment. He was shitty from the beginning. Our first date as a couple was homecoming. He was actually taking another girl to homecoming as a friend, but the week of he told me he canceled on her so he could go as my date. Instead of seeing this as the red flag it was, 15-year-old me thought it was some grandiose romantic gesture. It was only downhill from there. He expected me to be on the phone with him constantly when I wasn't at school. I would get home from school and he would expect me to call. If I took too long to do it he would yell at me. We would stay on the phone until I literally fell asleep. On the weekends, I was expected to call him as soon as I woke up. If I slept in too late he would yell at me. What were we talking about? Literally nothing. He would expect me to stay on the phone with him sitting in silence for hours and get mad if I said I wanted to go. Half the time he would get mad at me anyway for not having anything to say, never mind the fact that he didn't have anything to say either. Anytime I told him I would be out of town for the weekend for a family or optional school trip he would get angry at me. It took at minimum an hour to get him to tell me what his deal was. Every time he would tell me he had this amazing weekend planned and we were gonna go out and do all these fun things, never mind the fact that he never had any plans for any of the weekends I was in town. He did get physical on a couple of occasions, but dumb teenager me just thought it was because he was so passionate. I kinda realized I was in over my head when he started pressuring me to have sex. I didn't want to but he did, and he talked about all these plans about going to a hotel room and how amazing it was going to be. It made me super uncomfortable. But after a while I just started going along with making the plans because I knew it meant we would move past the subject faster. I'm not sure what happened. I was talking with my mom one day and something just Snapped. It was like 1 minute I was head over heels with this guy and the next I was repulsed by the very idea of him. My mom made and executed a plan beyond what I could have handled myself. I ended it over the phone because I was scared of how he would react in person. My mom contacted his parents and told them what was going on. She contacted the school to make sure I had support there too. I made it clear to him in no uncertain terms that he shouldn't talk to me or come around me at all. He drove by my house frequently for a couple of days. My mom called me out of school for a week. He would sit outside on the street for an hour or two at a time. Even our neighbors got involved in helping us. They would warn us if he was outside or let us know if he came by when we were out. It got kinda bad and I went to stay with my dad for a few days. He came by and left a card and a stuffed bear on the porch at my mom's on Valentine's Day. Eventually he just stopped. But I spent a lot of time scared out of my mind not knowing if or when he was going to pop up, even after he stopped coming around. I still have no idea why he stopped, but I won't forget that kind of fear.